Bucs fans, my Fear the Bay Gunners, get those cannons ready to fire because we have a loaded show. We have an explosive show coming up for you here today. I'm going to give you guys a deep dive, a full game preview on the enemy of the Bay. That is the Detroit Lions. They're sitting at 4-2, while the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 5-1, number one seed in the NFC. Full game preview on that game coming up for you here today. Also, the latest injury news. The Buccaneers may be getting a very star player back, a key player back on offense. I'll talk about all those injury updates as well as the keys to the game. If the Buccaneers do these three things, I think they come out of that Monday Night Football game in Detroit with a victory, advancing 6-1. And lastly, I'm going to give you all the picks, all my picks, all Adam Slivon's picks for all the games across the NFL in week number 7. All that and more on this episode of Fear the Bay. Welcome back to another episode of Fear the Bay, where your support makes all other 31 teams fear the Bay. I'm your host, Danny Morales, and the Buccaneers are 5-1, man. They just came off of a 30-19 victory over the San Francisco 49ers. Baker Mayfield getting his first win over the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan in his career. Todd Bowles also getting his first year as a head coach. There's really, really good stuff there. That game was incredible. We have some game balls to give out real quick, too, in the next segment. But before the season, they're off to a wild start, 5-1. They're on fire, man. Before the season, if you go back to my final record prediction for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I had them sitting at 5-1 heading into this Week 7 matchup against the Detroit Lions. And at the time, I was like, I know it sounds crazy, right? I know it sounds crazy. But I even with all the injuries, the Buccaneers have continued to find ways to win these games, and that is what great teams do. They continue to find ways to win, even when they're all banged up, right? Even when they're losing players left and right, even when the injury bug has struck them and stung them really, really hard. I mean, the Buccaneers are right. I said last week, are they the hottest team in the NFC? And I said they were. And now they showed it, right? They're sitting at number 1 in the NFC. If it continues like this, right, they get a first week bye in the playoffs. Incredible stuff. Let me make a quick prediction real quick. Right now, as we head into week number 7, if I was to predict who was going to be the final 2 teams in the NFC to proceed to the Super Bowl at this point right now, and a lot can change, but I would have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game versus the Seattle Seahawks. I think those are 2 great teams. I love the redemption arc of both of those quarterbacks, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, of course. I think that would be a explosive, fun NFC Championship game where I think the Buccaneers will win, depending on who's. I was gonna say who's playing out there, but Baker Mayfield is showing it doesn't matter who's out there, right? It doesn't matter if he's throwing to a 5th or 6th, 7th wide receiver. He can still find ways to win. But right now, if I was to predict who was going to be in the NFC Championship game again, it's going to be the Buccaneers and the Seahawks. A lot can change. The Buccaneers can fizzle out, right? So a lot can change from here to then. But just to make a prediction, so I can go back to it later on. You guys can call me out if I'm wrong here. But I have the Buccaneers and the Seahawks in that game. Let's go now to our game balls. Let's pass out some game balls here. I have 2 game balls to give out to 2 really deserving players. Let's waste no time and get to that segment now. All right, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming off that Week 6 victory against the 49ers. Before we get to the full game preview for the Monday Night Football game against the Detroit Lions, it's time to pass out 2 game balls real quick. The first one is going to be to a guy who I believe is the MVP frontrunner when Baker Mayfield, who he's carrying this team on his back. You saw that 3rd and long where he was about to get sacked by 2 49ers defenders. I believe one was Mykel Williams, the first-round rookie out of Georgia. He was going to be sacked for a major loss. He found his way out of it. He Houdini'd his way out of it. A guy like head coach DeMeco Ryans of the Houston Texans, he stated that Baker Mayfield is like a squirrel. He's a guy who is almost impossible. He's extremely hard, difficult to take down, but he finds his way out of that sack. He continues to make a play on his feet. I think you can say now also that Baker Mayfield is a dual threat quarterback, but he makes a play with his feet. He extended his arm out, got the first down, kept the drive alive for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really, really good stuff there. Baker Mayfield didn't have the most incredible game. At times, he would miss Emeka Buka behind on 2 plays when Emeka Buka was wide open around midfield. Nobody was really around him, but he missed both of those throws. Baker Mayfield, 17 for 23, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He hasn't had an interception since the Philadelphia Eagles game. But man, if you were to take Baker Mayfield out and you were to insert a guy like Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts, or even a guy like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to see this week in Jared Goff, how many of them, with all the injuries, with all the losses, are going to continue to have the type of success on offense and the type of win record? I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 5-1 right now if it's not for Baker Mayfield. But if you were to insert Jared Goff or Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts into this team, you take Baker Mayfield out and you tell them, all right, Jalen Hurts or Jared Goff, go out there against the 49ers, a team who has masterminds, right, on the offensive side, scheme-wise with Kyle Shanahan, and on defense with Robert Saleh, and they're a 4-1 team too. Go out there and go get us a victory when you're down your top 4 wide receivers and you're throwing to Cam Johnson and Tez Johnson and the veteran Sterling Shepard and Ryan Miller, converted tight end in college. But go out there without your top 4 wide receivers. Emeka Buka got hurt in the second half. He won't be playing in the Monday Night Football game, week number 7. But go out there without your top 4 wide receivers. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin Jr., no Jalen McMillan, no J-Mac. No Emeka Buka. Go out there and win us the game. But not just your top 4 wide receivers are out, right? Your right guard, Cody Mauch, he's out. Luke Gedeke, nobody knows when he's going to come back. We thought that this Monday Night Football game against the Lions was a possible return date for Luke. And Todd Bowles, when he was asked, he just said, is the expectation that Luke could return this season? And he said, I hope so. So, okay, right? But you're going to be out your top 4 wide receivers. You're going to be without your right guard. You're going to be without your right tackle. And you're going to be without your RB1 and Bucky Irving. So go out there and go get us a win against the San Francisco 49ers, a team who is extremely hot, just like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. I don't know how many of those guys can actually do it. I don't know how many guys can carry the load on their back like Baker Mayfield can and go get this team victories almost weekly at this point, besides the Eagles game, right? So Baker Mayfield, right now, you are the MVP in my mind. Of course, it's a very long season. As Todd Bowles stated, you can't crown the MVP in week number 7. The season is far from over. This is a marathon, of course, not a sprint. But Baker Mayfield, you get the first game ball here. The second game ball is going to go to Jamel Dean. Jamel Dean, I think one of the greatest things the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or Jason Light has done is say, hey, Jamel Dean, do you want to take a pay cut? Or we can possibly, trade you. Of course, that was probably a part of it. We can trade you or release you, move on in some capacity. But he accepted the pay cut because he didn't want it to be like his rookie year, where he's learning a new defense, he's learning a new city, a new locker room, and a new team, of course. And he accepted the pay cut. I think that pay cut lit a fire underneath Jamel Dean. Jamel Dean, right now, he is PFF's highest ranked cornerback, and I posted a post on X about this that went pretty big. But Jamel Dean right now, he is the first ranked corner in terms of the rankings for PFF. He has a 90.1 PFF grade. He has 2 interceptions, of course. He had an interception against the 49ers late in that game. He had the sack on Mac Jones, which Todd Bowles stated that sack on Mac Jones was the second greatest play he's ever seen as a coach. The second only behind the 1,000-yard reception last year for the final play of the regular season against the New Orleans Saints for Mike Evans, getting that 1K yard and, a whole celebration, the whole walk off and throw the ball out. But that was the second greatest play he's ever seen. So one thing real quick. So in that post that I made about Jamel Dean, I pointed out that I've often been critical of Jamel Dean. I'm not afraid to say so. I'm a guy who's going to be objective. If you're doing good, I'm going to tell you you're doing good. If you're doing bad, I'm going to tell you you're doing bad, right? That's what being objective is all about. But I stated I've been often critical of Jamel Dean throughout his career. And actually, the very first episode of Fear the Bay is titled something of the sorts of, will Jamel Dean lose his job? And I had a lot of people in the comments saying, Jamel Dean has always been a great player. And the great part is the part that, gives me a little hesitation, a little bit of a head scratch, right? Jamel Dean has been an above average corner throughout the entirety of his career, but has he always been a great corner? I don't think so, right? Now, we know the injuries have always been a thorn on Jamel Dean's side. Of course, also not catching the interceptions when the ball hits his hands. Even Kevin Ross, the cornerbacks coach, have stated before. I mean, that's a major part of his game that he needs to improve on, catching those footballs. And this year, of course, he has the 2 interceptions. He's catching this football. But to say that Jamel Dean has always been a great player, I mean, that's a bit of a head scratcher, right? Jamel Dean has always been, like I said, above average corner, but he has not always been a great player. If Jamel Dean was such a great cornerback throughout the entirety of his career here in Tampa, I mean, the Buccaneers, of course, would have approached him and said, hey, would you be willing to take an $8.25 million pay cut? I don't think you do that with a great player, right? That's like going up to Baker Mayfield right now and saying, hey, Baker, you're playing at an MVP caliber level. Let me approach you about taking a pay cut, an $8 million pay cut, right? I don't think that's going to sit well with Baker Mayfield. He's going to be like, I mean, he's going to be taken aback by it. It's like, do you respect me or not, right? Also, the Buccaneers would have drafted 2 corners really highly in the 2nd and 3rd round with Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish, if the idea was that Jamel Dean is this great player and he has fully penned in his spot as a cornerback 2 on this team. Benjamin Morrison, the idea of Benjamin Morrison was he was going to come in and compete with Jamel Dean, compete throughout training camp, compete throughout the preseason with Jamel Dean. But of course, that didn't work out because he was often injured throughout the entirety of the offseason. And even when he returned back in the regular season, whenever they put Benjamin Morrison in, they would take Jamel Dean out and put Benjamin Morrison in. At times, he would have like a tackle for loss. He would make an impact play pretty much right away as soon as the Buccaneers would put him in. But I mean, Jamel Dean right now, he's playing absolutely great. Has he always been a great player? No, but this season, has he been great? Absolutely. Has been phenomenal this season. I mean, to say that Jamel Dean's always been great, just go back to week number 2 of the preseason when he's going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that one drive, that major drive where he got beat on a 40+ yard reception on the same drive, I believe he had a DPI, and when the Steelers got in the end zone, like Todd Bowles said, his eyes wandered. He lost his assignment, and the Steelers were allowed to able to score on Jamel Dean. But this year, of course, Jamel Dean has been phenomenal. He has been great. He's PFF's first ranked corner. He has allowed a passer rating of 27.4. That is insane. When the ball is coming his way, he's making sure it's not caught. He's grabbing those interceptions. He's turned the ball over. He's even sacking the quarterback like we saw last week against the San Francisco 49ers. Really good stuff from Baker Mayfield and Jamel Dean. Those 2 guys, I'm excited to see how they continue to progress. Do they fizzle out, or is this consistently going to be their performance level every single week? I'm excited to see that. But let's get now to our game preview, a full deep dive on the enemy of the Bay, the Detroit Lions. Let's get to that now. All right, let's get now into this deep dive for week number 7. Who is the enemy of the Bay this week for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? It is the Detroit Lions, who they will be seeing on Monday Night Football. At this point, it's kind of like the old days, right, where they are divisional rivals, because it seems like they're meeting each other every single year, even in the playoffs a few years ago as well. So every single week, I give you a full deep dive on the opposing team. I do a lot of research throughout the entire week so that you do not have to sit back and relax as I break down the opposing team. So it all starts on that offense, of course. They have so many weapons. They have such a great team on offense and on defense. The Lions are the healthier of the 2 teams, I would say that, especially on offense. So Jared Goff right here, he's in his 10th season of his career. Of course, he's a 4-time Pro Bowl selection quarterback. He had last year a 6-game stretch where he had at least a 72% completion percentage and also a passer rating of above 102. He's the only quarterback in NFL history to have that type of success for 6 straight consecutive weeks. That is absolutely insane. This year, he has 1,390 passing yards. That ranks him 10th in the league at this moment. He also has a completion percentage, an extremely high one of 75.9. That ranks him first among all eligible quarterbacks. That right there, I'm not saying he's Drew Brees, But he reminds me of Drew Brees at times with how surgical he is, how accurate he is. That completion percentage is an example. It's something he can show for, he's extremely accurate. You don't have a 75.9% completion percentage if you're not surgical at times when he has a clean pocket. He also has 14 touchdowns. That ranks him first also right now in the NFL, and only 2 interceptions. So between these top 2 quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff, they've only thrown 3 interceptions throughout the entire year. That might be one of the keys to the game later on that I'm going to talk about. A little hint, a little foreshadowing, right? The Lions also have a 2-headed monster at the running back position. As Todd Bowles said, they basically split them 50-50. They both can be starters for a lot of teams in this league. So David Montgomery is the running back who I'll start with first. PFF has him with a overall grade of 76.4, which ranks him as the 7th highest running back right now. He has 65 rushes for 334 yards. He has a 5.1 yard carry average. That ranks him 9th right now, 9th highest in the league. He also has 4 rushing touchdowns. This is a stat that was really interesting to me. He has 8 explosive runs of 10 plus yards. So he has 8 explosive runs. Anytime both of these two guys, they can explode. They can break out at any moment in the game. And also 10 missed tackles. He's forced 10 missed tackles. So again, they have a 2-headed monster. Let's get to the second running back, Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, I like him a little bit more than Montgomery, but they're both really talented running backs. Last year, Gibbs had 1,400 rushing yards, 1,412 rushing yards for a total of 20 touchdowns. Some of those are receiving. The majority of those, though, were rushing touchdowns. 20 total touchdowns last year. That is insane. He's in his 3rd season, but since he was a rookie, he's been selected into the Pro Bowl. This might be the 3rd year in a row that he's selected to the Pro Bowl. We'll see how that all works out. But right now, he has 87 rushes for 390 yards. His yard per carry average is just slightly lower than his partner Montgomery's. He has a 4.5 yard per carry average, which right now that puts him at 20th. He also has 4 rushing touchdowns, just like Montgomery has. As a receiving threat, he's also dangerous as a receiver as well. He has 25 targets this year, 23 receptions for 112 yards and 1 reception, 1 touchdown reception. So they have so much firepower. They have weapons at the running back position. They have weapons at wide receiver. They have a major weapon at tight end as well. They have a very solid offensive line. So this is not going to be an easy team for the Buccaneers to go up against. I think they come out with a victory, but this is a very talented Detroit Lions team. They lost, of course, Ben Johnson, who was their offense coordinator last year, but they have not missed a step. They have still been, they're 4-2 right now. They have still been a very talented, successful team who continues to produce week in and week out. All right, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's one of the better wide receivers, of course, in the league. He's a 3-time Pro Bowl selection wide receiver, 2-time All-Pro. This was interesting to me. He's a target magnet, right? Jared Goff loves throwing it to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Since 2023, he has 3,230 yards, receiving yards, and 28 touchdowns. He's going to be a problem. But the good thing is, the Buccaneers are going to have Jamel Dean out there. Looks like Zion McCollum's going to be back out there. Most likely, it seems all signs are pointing that way. Benjamin Morrison will be out there as well, it appears. So they're going to have their top corners back against these really 2 talented wide receivers, but the better one, of course, is Amon-Ra St. Brown. This year, he has a PFF rating of 86.9 overall. He's the 3rd highest ranked wide receiver according to PFF. He has 50 targets, which is the 50th most right now in the league. 44 receptions, which is 2nd most for wide receivers. 452 receiving yards, which puts him at 5th. 6 receiving touchdowns, which that puts him at 1st. And also he has, whenever Jared Goff is throwing the football at him, whenever he's targeting Amon-Ra St. Brown, he has a passer rating of 135.6. The perfect passer rating, of course, is 158.3. So almost, if you throw it towards Amon-Ra St. Brown, your passer rating is going to be almost perfect, right? The other wide receiver opposite of Amon-Ra St. Brown, sometimes he's outside, sometimes he's in the slot. He's an Emeka Buka, a Chris Godwin type wide receiver. I think at this point, he's of course better than both of those wide receivers, but I think Emeka Buka has the possibility to kind of match his level as he continues to develop and progress, or maybe even exceed the play of St. Brown. Jameson Williams here, he's a speed demon. He didn't run his 40-yard dash because during the combine at the time, He was recovering from a torn ACL he suffered at Alabama, but he states that if he could have ran the 40-yard dash, he would have had a 4.10 40, which would have been, of course, the highest in NFL history. I don't know if he's 4.1, level speed, but he is definitely a speed demon. 2024, last year, he's in his fourth year in his career. Last year was his breakout year. He had 1,001 receiving yards. He had a long reception of 82 yards, and he had 8 total touchdowns. Last year, of course, was his breakout year. This year, he has 289 yards, 2 touchdowns. His average depth per target is 6th highest in the league. Whenever Jared Goff is connecting with him, on average, that pass deep down the field is 15.9 yards down the field. So he's been moving the chains for the Lions, and he is a wide receiver who, if you don't stop him, if you don't protect deep, he can burn you really, really, really deep. He is a deep threat. He's not as successful, of course, as St. Brown this year, but at any point with that speed, he's definitely a threat. All right, at the tight end position, they have one of the better tight ends right now in the league, and PFF has him as the highest ranked tight end right now in the league. So he was a second-round selection 2023 out of Iowa. That is Sam Laporta, of course. His PFF grade this year is 83.3 overall, which again ranks him at first. He's a first-ranked, highest-ranked tight end in the league right now. He has 30 targets, 25 receptions this year for 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 drops. He's going to catch those balls. If you put it in a place where he can catch it, he's going to make those receptions. All right, the offensive line, of course, they lost their veteran center this offseason, Frank Ragnow. He retired due to he wanted to, prioritize his health and his family. So what they did was they shifted Graham Glasgow over into the center position. But their left tackle is Taylor Decker. Right now, he has only allowed 1 sack, 1 penalty. He has allowed 10 pressures, though. But overall, he's been, for the most part, solid for the Lions. He was a day 1 starter since he was drafted by the Lions in 2016. He's an Ironman on that offensive line. Christian Mahogany, he was the draft pick last year out of Boston College, 6th-round draft pick for them. He started only 1 game last year, but this year he's been a starter for the entire season. He's allowed 2 sacks, and he's had 2 penalties. At center, Graham Glasgow, he moved in from, he was playing right guard in 2023. He was playing left guard in 2024 last year. Now they shipped him into the center position with Ragnow being retired. He's allowed 0 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and a total of 7 pressures. So for the most part, pretty solid, but you want a little bit more improvement there, but not too bad, I'd say. All right, Tate Ragledge. He is the rookie. He's 6'6", 315 pounds. He was the second round selection this year out of Georgia for the Detroit Lions. He has been a day 1 starter on that right side of the offensive line. This year, he's allowed only 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, but he has allowed 12 pressures. So that right side, he's a guy who's still developing. Maybe the Buccaneers, whether it's, one of the interior guys, a Vita Vea, if he's working up against him at times, maybe he can get the better. That defensive line can get the better of the rookie. And lastly, right tackle, Penei Sewell. He's the best right tackle in the league. He's a 3-time Pro Bowl selection, 2-time All-Pro right tackle. He's only missed 1 game in his entire career. We were talking about Taylor Decker as an Ironman. Sewell is a real Ironman. He was only missed 1 game in his career, and that 1 game was because in his rookie year, that was COVID, right? Really early on, he missed a game because he tested positive for COVID. But since then, he's never actually been injured for a game. He just keeps battling. If he's a little banged up, he continues to play. If it's not too bad, of course. But he's been a consistent bodyguard for Jared Goff on the right side of the offensive line. He has a PFF rating right now of 94 overall. He's the highest ranked offensive tackle in general, left tackles and right tackles included. He has a 73.6 pass block rating and a 96 run block rating. He has the highest run block rating for all tackles in the league right now. He has played a total, this one, you talk about being a great right tackle. He is a phenomenal right tackle, a future Hall of Famer, I'd say. He has 363 snaps he's played so far this year, and throughout those 363 snaps, he has allowed 0 sacks, he's had 0 penalties, and he's only allowed 1 QB hit. if the Buccaneers had him right now, I mean, Baker Mayfield would have to run for his life at times, but they're going to get eventually Luke Gedeke back. All right, that was the offense for the Detroit Lions. Let's now talk about the defense and special teams for the Detroit Lions as well. Let's get there. Bucs fans, want to know how you can help this channel, Fear the Bay, continue to grow and expand? Well, all you have to do are 3 simple things, and they're absolutely free. And what are those things, you might be asking? Well, like, subscribe, and comment. Like, subscribe, and comment. When you do that, when you engage with the content, what happens is YouTube's algorithm continues to push this content out to more phenomenal Bucs fans like yourself. So please, if you have not done so already, like, subscribe, and comment. Those things help me out tremendously, and they help our channel, they help our community continue to grow and grow and grow and expand to brand new heights. Let's get back to the video. We definitely do not want to miss that. All right, let's get now into breaking down this defense and special teams unit for the Detroit Lions. Of course, the Detroit Lions, they lost their offense coordinator, as I stated, Ben Johnson. He's now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. They also lost their defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, who is now the head coach of the New York Jets, and they're not doing so well. But how much can you really put that on him? I think the team has a lot of holes, and the team has a lot more problems than Aaron Glenn, I can tell you that. But Kelvin Shepard, he is the new defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He was a linebackers coach for the Lions since 2021. He gets the promotion. He is now the defensive coordinator. So this defense all starts, of course, with Aiden Hutchinson. Last year, when the Buccaneers faced the Lions, you have the same problem. Luke Gedeke was out, and you had Justin School at the time in, who now is with the Minnesota Vikings. He signed in the offseason. But Aiden Hutchinson was almost impossible to stop. He had, 4.5, 5 sacks working against School, and they moved him around at times. But this week, Charlie Heck is going to have the impossible task, the almost near impossible task, right, of facing Aiden Hutchinson, who Aiden Hutchinson is a guy that almost every game now, he's forcing a fumble. And he has a high sack total. Let's get to his stuff right here, right now. So this year so far, he has 6 sacks. He is ranked 4th in the league right now in sacks. He's number 1, as I stated, in forced fumbles. It feels like almost every game he's getting a forced fumble. He has 4 forced fumbles so far. Last week, going up against the Chiefs, he grabbed the protection. I believe it was a tight end, one-handed, pushed him into Patrick Mahomes, swiped the ball out, got the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. Forced the fumble there. Now the Chiefs were able to recover it, but you just see the bully ball, grabbing a guy one-handed, pushing him into the quarterback, getting the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, forcing the fumble there. He's definitely one of the better pass rushers in this league. Imagine if the Buccaneers had a guy like Aiden Hutchinson on this defense. I think that would make this defense elite. All right, the Detroit Lions are going to get one of their interior defensive linemen back, Aleem McNeil. He's coming back this week. Last year, he was out because he suffered a torn right ACL in Week 15. And the head coach, Dan Campbell, stated on the Detroit radio this week, barring something happening this week, Aleem's freaking playing, man. So he's excited that he's getting one of his starters back on the defensive line. The Lions, like I stated in the beginning of the show, they're the healthier team out of the 2 teams. But I still think the Buccaneers come out with the victory, even though the Lions are the healthier team. I think the Buccaneers are still the better team. All right, he's been locked in. He's ready to go, he states. He's been wanting to come back since the moment he got injured, so he's finally back now. DJ Reader is the other interior defensive lineman right next to him. He has 12.5 career sacks, 25 tackle for losses, 53 quarterback hits. He's in his 10th year of his career. This year, not much in the run or pass game out of DJ Reader. He has 0 tackle for losses, only 1 QB hit, 0 sacks, and 8 total pressures. Not much there. He's played 60% of the snaps. PFF ranks him as the 73rd overall defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman. Opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, you have another edge rusher who has been more dominant, more effective than Hassan Reddick or Yaya Diaby has been this week. And his name is Al Quadin Muhammad. So he has a PFF grade right now of 85.8 overall. This year alone, he has 18 pressures. 18 pressures, 9 quarterback hits, 4 tackle for losses, and 4.5 sacks. I mean, the Buccaneers, no matter who, they move Aiden Hutchinson around, but Charlie Heck is going to have his hands full whether he's going up against Muhammad or Hutchinson. So really two really nice bookend edge rushers there. All right, inside linebacker. This is another. So for the Detroit Lions, their defensive line, their edge rushers, of course, and their interior linemen, their inside linebackers. That is a really strength of this defense. Jack Campbell is a very nice young inside linebacker. He's in his third year now. It's actually pretty interesting because in 2023, the Buccaneers were ready to draft Jack Campbell, which right now we know that the Buccaneers have a weakness right now at inside linebacker. They were getting ready to draft Jack Campbell, and this comes from behind the scenes footage of the Buccaneers in the war room leading up to the selection in 2023. But they were getting ready to draft Jack Campbell, and I forgot who it was. I think it was Todd Bowles stated that Jack Campbell, when the Detroit Lions were picking, because the Detroit Lions were picking at number 18, the Buccaneers were picking at number 19, and I believe Bowles stated that Jack Campbell he's a Dan Campbell type of guy. They were ready to pick him. The Detroit Lions, they selected Jack Campbell, which would have been nice, right? You go from, if the Buccaneers would have drafted him, you would have gone from Derek Brooks to Levante David to Jack Campbell being the next great inside linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It didn't work out that way, of course. The Buccaneers ending up drafting Kalijah Kancey, who I'm still high on Kalijah Kancey. He's going to be out this year, of course, with a pectoral injury. There's a possibility he could come back late in the playoffs at some point, kind of like Vita Vea did during the Super Bowl run. But, it didn't happen that way. But Jack Campbell is a really good inside linebacker. Right now, he has a PFF rating of 86.1 overall, which ranks him 6th highest for linebackers. He has 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 6 pressures this year as well. Alex Anzalone, we know he was the former New Orleans Saints linebacker. He's been playing on that offensive line now. On the defense inside linebacker for the Lions for about 4 years now. So he's been working with Jack Campbell since Jack Campbell has came in. They have a lot of good chemistry. They're a real good partnership right there. At cornerback, so cornerback is really... Defensive back is really the weakness for this defense. Terrion Arnold, he had an up and down rookie season last year coming out of Alabama. He was drafted 24th overall. Last year, he had 0 interceptions. He allowed a passer rating of 99.2. And he had a 50.4 PFF coverage grade, which ranks him at 176 out of 222 cornerbacks last year. So there was some good, but he had an up and down rookie season. This year, he hasn't been much better. He has a PFF rating of 49.3 overall, which ranks him as the 140th out of 171 cornerbacks. He's allowed 18 receptions this year, and he's allowed a passer rating of 106, and he's allowed 15.7 yards per reception. That's a weakness there. Opposite of him, you have Rocky Sin, is a journeyman quarterback. He's basically with a team 1 year and then moves on. He was with, of course, the Colts at the beginning. He was there for 3 seasons. Then he went to the Raiders for 1 season. Then the Ravens for the next season, 2023. Then the 49ers last year. Now with the Detroit Lions. Instability there, journeyman cornerback. That is a weakness for the Detroit Lions defense, who the Buccaneers, they're getting Mike Evans this week. He's going up against a defensive backfield that he might be able to thrive in. Remember, he started off against A.J. Terrell and Derek Stingley Jr. and Sauce Gardner. His numbers didn't look too hot, but now you have a perfect opportunity to have a breakout game if you're Mike Evans, if the offensive line can protect for Baker Mayfield. Amik Robinson, the nickel corner, he's pretty good for them. He has 5 career interceptions. He's in his 6th year of his career. He has 5 forced fumbles, so he creates turnovers at times. Brian Branch, we're not going to talk much about him because he is suspended for this Monday Night Football game. He had the post-game fight last week against wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster for the Kansas City Chiefs. He'll be out. Kirby Joseph, he is a very interesting guy. Like Baker Mayfield said, he's a ball hawk. Last year, he had 9 interceptions. The Buccaneers defense last year in total has 7 interceptions. This one guy alone had more interceptions than the entire defensive unit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is Kirby Joseph. He's dealing with a bit of an injury. I believe it's a shoulder injury. We'll get to injuries in the next segment, but he's doing really good for himself this season so far. I believe he has 3 interceptions this year already. All right, talking about special teams real quick. Jake Bates, he is their young kicker. He's in his 2nd year of his career. This year so far, he is 7 for 9 when it comes to field goal attempts. Last year and this year, his long is 58. They're going to be kicking indoors. It's on turf. as well. He is perfect on his extra point attempts. So I always, like I state every week, I like to know what the long is for these kickers. And Jack Fox, he is the punter for the Detroit Lions. He's a 2-time Pro Bowl selection punter. He made first team All-Pro last year. He's also a one-time second team All-Pro in 2020. This year he's had 22 punts, and 13 of those punts he's been able to pin teams back inside of the 20. He has a 46.27 average yard per punt. So really good there as well. So again, for the defense for the Detroit Lions, their edge rushers are phenomenal. Their defensive line is healthy now. They're at their full strength for the most part. Their inside linebackers, really great stuff from there. But the defensive backfield, especially with Brian Branch out, you have the injuries. Terrion Arnold's dealing with injury. Kirby Joseph is dealing with injury as well. That is an area that Baker Mayfield and Josh Grizzard can exploit in the passing game. Let's get now to talking about injuries. Let's get now to the Week 7 injuries for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, injuries. Injuries have been a story for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all year long, and it doesn't stop in week number 7. They're going to be out some key players, but as Baker Mayfield and this team has showed, it doesn't really matter who's out there. They're going to keep fighting until the game ends, until the final whistle is blown. All right, so on the injury front, Lavonte David, Greg Auman says he hasn't practiced real quick. So this is a little bit of a different week because the Buccaneers are playing on Monday Night Football, so they're going to practice. They practice Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Saturday will be the final practice. No practice, of course, Sunday. Sunday will be the travel day, or late Saturday, depending on how they do it, but I would expect it to be probably Sunday. And then Monday, of course, they play 7 o'clock in Detroit. All right, Lavonte David did not practice Thursday, did not practice Friday. There's a possibility he could practice Saturday. At the time of this recording, it's a Friday. And Greg Auman states that this is one of those injuries. He's dealing with a knee and a rib injury that he might be able to practice on Saturday and play in the game. So doesn't seem like there's too much of a concern there. Emeka Egbuka, he went out with a hamstring injury, of course, against the 49ers. He's going to be out this game. Mike Evans, there's a possibility, and it seems every sign is pointing towards Mike Evans returning this game. I would be okay if he doesn't play in this game and just continues to heal up and heal up that hamstring injury so he doesn't tweak it again. The Buccaneers have a bye week pretty soon. It's depending on how he feels. I'm not a medic. I'm not one of the trainers on the team. If he thinks he's ready, then all right, they're back out there. But I want to make sure he's 100% before he's back out there. But Mike Evans was limited on Thursday. He did not practice Friday, but that's a routine thing. He doesn't practice when he's healthy 1 day a week because it's a veteran day off for him. Chris Godwin Jr., he will be out for this game. He's dealing with a fibula injury. Luke Haggard, he's dealing with a shoulder injury, has not practiced on Thursday, Friday. He's most likely out for this game. Michael Jordan, who is the guard for this team, he's on the practice squad. He started a few games early on for the Buccaneers at left guard, of course. He was dealing with knee soreness. He returned to practice this week, so the Buccaneers want to elevate him from the practice squad if he is fully healthy. Then he might be one of those guys who is in the running to fill in at right guard for Luke Haggard. But of course, Elijah Klein is another one who can fill in for that spot as well. All right, Bucky Irving will be out this game too. He's dealing with a foot and shoulder injury. Josh Williams, he's still dealing with the concussion protocol. He's most likely going to be out for this game as well. Those are the main guys there. McCollum came back. Benjamin Morrison came back. McCollum came back. He's still dealing with he had a thumb procedure done. He has it all wrapped up now. He was in a sling last week. He said the sling made it look worse than what it was. It looks like he's going to be playing. All signs point that way as well. And then Benjamin Morrison, he's practicing full this week so far. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. It looks like the Buccaneers are going to have their top 3 corners back fully. Jamel Dean, Benjamin Morrison, Zion McCollum, and of course Jacob Parrish has remained healthy. And you still have Kendall Vildor in there who got the interception last week early in the game against Mac Jones. So the Buccaneers' depth at cornerback is back to full strength for the most part here. All right, for the Detroit Lions, Kirby Joseph, who I talked about, he is a ball hawk, had 9 interceptions again last year. That is 2 more than the entire defensive unit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who had 7 in 2024. He's dealing with a knee injury. He did not practice Thursday. He did not practice Friday. That's, at the time of this recording, again, it's a Friday night. Let's see if he practices on Saturday. If he does, he'll most likely play in that game. All right, Avonte Maddox, another DB. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. Did not practice this week as well. Sion Vaki, he's a running back. Groin injury, did not practice for the Lions. And Terrion Arnold, he's a guy who is the starting quarterback. We talked about him. He had an up and down season last year as a rookie. Has had an up and down season this year as well. I know a lot of fans, Detroit Lions fans, are a bit upset with him. I've seen in his posts, they're a bit upset with his overall play. Let's see if he's even in this game, but he's dealing with a shoulder injury. I think he'll play. He did not practice Thursday. He was limited on Friday. I think he's probably going to play in this game. Taylor Decker, he's dealing with a shoulder injury. He's been able to practice in a limited capacity. DJ Reader, he's dealing with a back injury for the Lions on the defensive line. He did not practice Thursday. He was limited on a Friday. Let's see, on Saturday. Zach Cunningham and Alam McNeil, those two guys practice in full this week. They're most likely going to play. So those are the injuries so far for week number 7 for the Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. Let's get now to the keys to the game. If the Buccaneers do these 3 things, I think they come out of Monday Night Football with a win, fly back to Tampa with a big smile on their face, celebrating on the plane ride back, and they advance to 6-1. Let's get now to the keys to the game. All right, now let's get into the keys to the game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week number 7. Last week, though, my keys to the game were, number 1, you had to limit Christian McCaffrey as a receiving threat. He was coming into that game with a 25.74 target share. The Buccaneers, for the most part, were able to limit his impact as a receiver. That was huge there. Also, my second key to the game was you had to create pressure on Mac Jones. You had to get him off his feet. You had to create pressure, cause him to mess up. The Buccaneers did that. They had 6 sacks on Mac Jones. I mean, one of them came from C.J. Brewer, a backup defensive lineman. Another one came from cornerback Jamel Dean. So they were getting pressure on Mac Jones. It didn't feel consistent, but overall, when you look back, it was 6 sacks. Really nice day for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive unit in terms of pressure. And also, my final key to the game was that the Buccaneers coverage unit on special teams needed to stop the return, to limit the return of the San Francisco 49ers returners, because the week before, the Seattle Seahawks were starting, it felt like almost at midfield for every single play, because the coverage unit couldn't make the tackles, and they were able to do that as well in week number 6 against the 49ers, making sure that the 49ers had no big return for the most part. So, here are my 3 keys to the game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is going to be a very challenging matchup for both teams. I think, again, the Buccaneers are going to be able to advance to 6-1, however. The first key to the game is going to be minimizing the impact, of course, of Aiden Hutchinson. That is number 1. You got to limit the impact of Aiden Hutchinson. He's going to get his pressures, okay? Whether he's working against Wirfs or he's working against Charlie Heck, he's going to get his pressures. He might get, hopefully the maximum is 1, possibly 2 sacks. But last year, again, going up against Justin School with Luke Gedeke being out, he had 4.5, 5 sacks, in that game. So you have to minimize the impact of Aiden Hutchinson. Get the ball out quickly, have an extra guy chipping in, making sure that you're helping out Charlie Heck. Maybe Kate Otten stays in, or Payne Durham, gets that check in there. Rashad White needs to do a good job, of course, picking up those pressures, or even Sean Tucker, if he's in there. It's going to be no Bucky Irving this week, of course, as well. So again, minimize the impact. You're not going to be able to stop him fully. You're not going to be able to cancel out Aiden Hutchinson completely, but you got to minimize the impact of Aiden Hutchinson. All right, next key to the game. You got to get pressure on quarterback Jared Goff. And this is something, Jared Goff, as I said earlier, he's a very accurate quarterback. He has over a 75% completion percentage. He has the highest completion percentage in the league right now. He always has, for the most part, a very high completion percentage. Even his former offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, who again is the now Chicago Bears head coach, he said that after the Bears lost to the Detroit Lions 52-21, Ben Johnson said, when his pocket is clean, he plays at a very high level. And their top key to the game was making sure, heading in for the defense of the Chicago Bears, was making sure that you created a messy pocket for Jared Goff. You disrupted his play. You got pressure, whether it's QB hits or sacks, or just pressures in general, that you were able to affect the game of Jared Goff. But they couldn't do that. Jared Goff, for the most part, had a clean pocket, and he teared up the defense of the Chicago Bears. So if his former offensive coordinator is saying that he is, basically an elite quarterback whenever his pocket is clean, I mean, the number one key to the game, if you're Todd Bowles, is making sure that you cause pressure. You get Jared Goff off of his feet, get him moving, making sure that he's disrupted. You get his timing off of his wide receivers. You hit him with quarterback hits. You get those sacks on Jared Goff. And if you do that, then it really impacts his ability to throw to all the weapons he has, whether St. Brown or Laporta or Gibbs in the backfield or Montgomery, right? Or Williams. All those guys, they have a great offensive line as well. Not a great, but a really good offensive line there. And lastly, turnovers. If you're Baker Mayfield in this offense, do not turn the ball over. In total, with Jared Goff, he's thrown 2 interceptions this year, and Baker Mayfield, he's only thrown 1 interception, and that came in their loss against the Philadelphia Eagles. So you cannot turn the ball over. These are 2 quarterbacks that this year have not turned the ball over much, and this might be a game that in the fourth quarter, it might be whoever has the ball last. Kind of like in the Seattle Seahawks game, where the Seahawks had the ball last, but Sam Darnold threw the interception, was tipped off of Logan Hall's head, intercepted by Levante David, who redeemed himself in that game with that interception. But again, do not turn the ball over. That's going to be a big key to the game. Make sure you secure the ball, and not just Baker Mayfield, right? Making sure that Rachaad White, Sean Tucker, whoever has the ball in their hands, doesn't fumble it. Again, Aiden Hutchinson has 4 forced fumbles this year, tied for first for edge rushers. Really, really good stuff there. So again, minimize the impact of Aiden Hutchinson. He's going to make an impact, but you want to minimize it, right? Make it as minimal as you possibly can. Also, make sure that you affect the pocket, affect Jared Goff's timing, get pressure on Jared Goff. And lastly, no turnovers. Play smart, clean football. Do not turn the ball over. Don't give the Lions opportunities to capitalize on any turnovers. Make sure you secure the ball, go down the field, of course, and score points every single time that you can. So those are the keys to the game for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's get now into the Week 7 picks. All the games around the league. I'll give you guys my picks as we close out the show. All right, every week on Fear the Bay, we close out the show by giving my picks for all the games around the NFL and also Adam Slivon's picks for every single game around the NFL. Make sure you go follow Adam on X and on Instagram at Adam Lives On, Adam Livson. He does such great, phenomenal work with Pewter Report on your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really good stuff from Adam. He's a very young, talented, bright guy. We have 2 games that we think a little bit differently. I'll share those 2 games at the very end on who we think are going to win those 2 matchups, because those are really important for our head-to-head matchups. Right now, I have a record of 60-32-1. He has a record of 59-33-1. And of course, as I always state here, this is just for entertainment. This is not for gambling purposes, betting purposes at all. Don't use this information for anything else besides entertainment, okay? All right, so we both have the Steelers winning on Thursday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. That didn't happen, of course. Joe Flacco, who was recently traded away from the Browns to the Bengals, he had a monster game for himself, hitting Jamar Chase, I believe 16 receptions to Jamar Chase. The Bengals ended up winning that game 33-31, a very close game there, but the Bengals got the win. All right, the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. The LA Rams versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. We both have the LA Rams winning that game. You have now the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs. We have the Chiefs both winning that matchup. You have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Minnesota Vikings. Carson Wentz will be starting that game. So you have the former quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles versus a current quarterback, of course, with Jalen Hurts. We both have the Eagles winning that game. This one is not really a fun football at all, but you have the Carolina Panthers versus the New York Jets. The New York Jets are winless this year. We don't have them getting a win this week. In week number 7, we have the Panthers both winning that matchup. New England Patriots versus the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans fired their head coach. I don't agree with the decision to fire a coach mid-season. I believe if I'm an owner, I'm waiting to make that decision to the very end. Very rarely does an interim head coach come in with that's a team with so many hoes, extremely, high lack of talent on all 3 phases of the team. But they did what they did. I don't agree with the move, but it is what it is, right? So New England Patriots versus Tennessee Titans. We both have the Patriots and Drake May. Mike Vrabel going back facing the former team that cut him, right? Or fired him as the head coach of their football program there. We have the Patriots winning. All right, New York Giants, Jackson Dart versus Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, two really young, talented quarterbacks. But I have, and Adam does as well, we both have the Denver Broncos winning that game. All right, Indianapolis Colts versus the LA Chargers. This is going to be a fun matchup. We both have the Chargers winning that game, however. The Green Bay Packers versus Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. We both have the Packers winning that game there. The Washington Commanders versus the Dallas Cowboys. Same thing. We both have, agree on this one. We have the Dallas Cowboys winning that matchup there. Dak Prescott getting a win. The Atlanta Falcons versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the 49ers, of course, they lost Fred Warner for the entire year with a dislocated ankle injury. I still think that because of the scheme, because of Shanahan, and because of Robert Saleh, I mean, it doesn't really matter who you have out there. They'll continue finding ways to win. I don't think that would change this week. I think that the 49ers get the win over the Falcons, and Adam agrees as well. Buccaneers versus Detroit Lions. At first, Adam had the Buccaneers losing that game, but then he changed his mind, and he believes, just like I believe, that the Buccaneers are going to go into Detroit, come out with the victory. All right, we have the Houston Texans versus the Seattle Seahawks. We're both taking the Seattle Seahawks in this game. The Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills are both on a bye week. So the two games that we think differently in terms of who the winner of those matchups will be, we have the New Orleans Saints versus the Chicago Bears. I have the Saints winning in that matchup. He has the Bears winning in that matchup. And then lastly, the Miami Dolphins versus the Cleveland Browns. I think this might be the worst game of the entire week. I don't even know if it's... I'm sure the fans of both those teams wish it wasn't even televised. I'm just making a joke here. But I have the Dolphins winning that game. He has the Cleveland Browns winning that game. So those are two matchups that are going to be really, really important for our overall head-to-head matchups. So now let's finish this show. Let's get to the closure now. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate all of your support. If you have not done so already, please like and subscribe and also share. If you know somebody who doesn't know about Fear the Bay yet, let them know about Fear the Bay. There's a lot of production, high production that goes into this show, a lot of research that goes into this show as well. I try to make the best high quality product that I possibly can. It's a lot of work. This is my full-time job. It's a lot of work, but I try my absolute best to produce the best product that I absolutely can. I want to thank you guys all for always supporting, of course. I think this is going to be a game that's going to be very tough for both teams. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. I think the Buccaneers pull out the win, but it won't be easy whatsoever. But they will stay on top of the NFC. They will still be the #1 seed, and they'll be 6-1 as they head into their Week 8 matchup against the New Orleans Saints right before the bye. And that's all. Honestly, the division matchups are always difficult, no matter what the record is of the opposing team. But we'll worry about the New Orleans Saints next week, right? For now, I'm your host, Daniel Morales. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'm going to sign out here, but thank you guys so much again. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this content. You can do so on X, Instagram, wherever you want to send it through text message. YouTube allows you to share it through any means you want, all right? Thank you guys, and I hope you guys have a tremendous weekend, and I hope that on Tuesday, you guys get to celebrate a Victory Tuesday. I'm your host, Daniel Morales, signing out.